Hi, my name's Alex Benton, and I'm doing my presentation for this assignment on Hollow Knight. So, to start off, you have back and forth movement, you can attack, and you can jump. These aren't explicitly said, except for after a while, if you do not do anything, it will begin to prompt you with large but not obtrusive indicators to tell you that, by the way, you can actually press these buttons to do the actions. It doesn't give you any direction at first, but you are pointing to the right to signify that you probably should go right. However, if you go left, there is a reward. There's secret treasure that you can find to get a little reward for exploring. And you can find little nooks and crannies throughout the game that will reward you for exploration, along with some more valuable things. Now, the first obstacle is a door, and as you can see, it prompts you to press X to attack. So another one. These are blocks to keep you from progressing until you have proven that you learned the attack. And now there's an enemy that shows up, which you have to either jump over or, more likely, attack. That's another locked piece of progression to confirm that you have learned to at least attack and potentially jump. Another door, and now we're at the first point where you have to know how to jump. I believe at this point it should confirm that you do know how to jump by prompting you to jump. Maybe that happens when you jump down here. Apparently not. Oh, there it is. Yeah, hold Z to jump. You can hold or just tap to jump. And now you can know that you can jump over these guys, but I'll still kill them anyway. Now we're at the first real, actual platforming piece. There's another enemy to kill, and he leads you to get more loot in case you haven't discovered that you can find loot in these areas. Jump up here, and then if you go over to here... Oh, wait, no, never mind, that's a different area. Here you can see that a stalactite falls behind you, showing you how these traps are triggered without likely damaging you. Normally those would, if they hit you, they would damage you. Here there's a piece where it describes how you can heal yourself by holding A while your soul meter is filled. I'll demonstrate that once I take damage. Here's another enemy, and I'll take damage. The audio and visual cues are very clear when it comes to taking damage, and it prompts you to hold A to focus your soul to heal, as you can see in the top left. Get another door, gives you a more advanced platforming puzzle, and get another spike trap. At this point, you should know how to platform, and this is simply escalating the difficulty slowly. Now here, usually that enemy would have gotten killed by the falling spike to show you, if you hadn't already been damaged, that those spikes can damage people without requiring you to take damage. Over here, this very different looking area prompts you to explore over here, and if you attack it, you'll discover that now you have a new type of health, which you cannot heal, but you stacks with your regular health. I'll demonstrate that here. I cannot heal that after I take damage. Over here, the floor gives out underneath you, and you're forced into this side area with some more traps to encourage you to keep moving. Down here, not everybody will discover this on their first playthrough, but certainly after a few playthroughs you will eventually realize that you can hit the ground to bounce yourself in the air. This is, of course, an optional area. And here's a little piece of lore as a reward, and also your first charm which normally players would gain charms later on in the game, but this is a way for you to get an extra reward early on, and it explains charms to you earlier in the game. If you do find that, you'll find yourself back earlier in the level, and this will really show you that backtracking is expected in this game. There's also a little extra reward here. If you do happen to know what you're doing, you can come back here and get that. You can also bounce off of spikes and enemies and various other things. Basically anything that can be damaged, and anything that can damage you pretty much, except for a few things, you can attack downwards to bounce off of. Now this area, the only thing you can do there is attack it, so it's pretty obvious what you have to do. There's another piece of lore that you don't have to read, but it is interesting. And then there's this door, which of course, the only thing we know how to do right now is attack. Attack, jump, and move, so we'll do that. Now, one thing that I probably should have mentioned earlier is that at the very beginning we fell from the sky a very long distance. That might make us realize that there is no fall damage in this game without having to test it manually, but here we go. And as you can see, there is no fall damage. So this guy is the first NPC that you can talk to, but if you decide not to talk to him, if you watch him in the corner, he'll hold out his arm and call you to come interact with him. And normally there'd be this dialogue would not be here, but since I walked past him, he says this. He gives some framework for this town, which is largely abandoned, and prompts you to go down into the well, which this game doesn't exactly have levels, but I would call that the path to level 2, because it's a Metroidvania. Now this is the first bench. It prompts you to rest, and it because we have collected a charm, it'll give us this information, so let's check that out. There's only one option, so we'll equip it. And it's pretty straightforward. This system is actually pretty in-depth, but you don't need to know all of the details at first. It literally just gives you one charm and lets you know what it does. This also gets rid of your remaining blue health, or lifeblood, and this is now a save point. The only thing left to do in this level is go over here, potentially read this sign, and head down the well. Now there is one last part over here that you can explore too before going down the well, but because of progression mechanics, it is locked right now. However, if you do explore over here, you will potentially be looking for a simple key. And let's head down the well, and that will end level 1.